inconclusive. Elvis ammo. Okay. And number 3, yes, I Dude, you need them. Yeah, Heist Failed. You need to know the picture. Look at the 15-year-old kid podcast.
Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face?
Real Sports Live, I think.
Living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. You can't escape.
Yeah. Oh, look. I barely got these in the cellar that I got them from the stock. You know that mic flag I tried putting on? Well, here she is in all her glory. It's just a solid white panel. I had my brother-in-law painted white, except that I took away the little belt clip and I used what do you call it? Those pieces of Velcro that are taped or that are like pre-cut pieces, and that's what I used to tape it on the big microphone. I'm not getting the phone for that. Yeah, I don't know what color I should spray paint these that came in today, but I do plan to spray paint them and put a decal on them. Because they're sprayed white, bro, but come on, it gets a little too dirty.
When you're born into a fire,
I'm gonna ask my brother-in-law if he has a blue. If not, I'll have to go to Walmart and buy a blue spray paint.
they wanna let the world
I do have a gray one, but except that's in my mom's bedroom,
tell us lies and fade away.
and that's just like the original logo.
We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
Let me guess.
Listen up now.
No.
Because we're never
I was
dropping
gonna guess
down.
Santos,
Beat the odds, beat the
Michael,
big
and
house.
Gil.
Our brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves. Never let the truth
Saludos.
fade away.
Saludos, Mr. Ochoa.
This is bigger than ourselves. We won't let the world burn away. Burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To blame, haters face the world's mistakes. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway.
this is the microphone I'll be getting to use that.
And we feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake it through the back of the pack, kill it anyway. To break haters' face, the world's mistakes. Wake it through the back of the pack, kill it
Press conferences, yeah, it's probably like the quality of the microphone. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It's the quality of the microphone.
I forgot to unmute myself. See, we're starting off on the wrong foot. We failed a heist. I can't unmute myself, and worst of all, like I was just saying right now, the banter totally fell flat on us. If I had, like I said, if Zoom had a video filter with a clown face, I would definitely be putting it on at this moment because I feel like a clown after all the banter me and the rest of the RGVFC fans talked against the El Paso fans. But we'll talk about that more as the show goes on. Welcome to another episode of the Down in the Valley podcast. My name is Edson Ochoa, and it's just one of those games, to be honest. But yeah, check out our podcast. Thank you, Beautiful Game Network. Thank you, Roughneck Scarves. Thank you, Icarus FC. And thank you, Natural Beauty Spa, for sponsoring this show. And of course, I want to thank each and every one of our patrons: Jeff Strong, Harry Austin, Javier Ochoa, Gilbert Guajardo, Eddie de la Garza, Santos Cisneros, Johnny Reese, and Mike Reyes. Thank you all for your financial support of the Down in the Valley podcast via Patreon. If you would like to support us financially, which is not required, but you do get some perks if you do. Be sure to check out patreon.com/downintheRGV. You will see the different tiers that we have available. You'll see the perks that each tier comes available with. And if you guys are interested, you can go ahead and support the show at this moment. Just a quick reminder, guys. You can also check out the podcast. If you guys miss it, we do go live every Wednesday. Lately, it's been at 7:30 p.m. due to work. So it'll probably be a similar schedule from here on out. But if you miss any part of this show, or if you want to watch it again, you can check out the podcast version on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and other podcasting platforms. If you are listening right now through the podcast audio, be sure to check out our live sessions every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/down in the valley, and on Facebook Live, facebook.com/downintheRGV. But yeah, We have a lot. We have a lot to talk about today. We've got the discussion on last Saturday's game against Paso Locomotive. We've got another South Texas Derby we're looking forward to this Saturday against San Antonio FC, but this time it'll be at Toyota Field. And joining us today, he's a recurring guest of the podcast, and from South Texas Border Sports, Ray Silva is on the show. Ray, how's it going?
Hello, Edson. How are you? Good evening to all of your fans and patrons joining us tonight. It's a privilege to be here, ready to break down the West Texas border derby and bring on the next South Texas derby.
Definitely, we've it seems like we're going pretty much from derby to derby in these last couple of weeks. We have the San Antonio South Texas Derby at home, not last Sunday, but the previous Sunday, and we've got the Border Derby against El Paso Locomotive. And now we're going to San Antonio to play another South Texas Derby before we actually have to go to Florida and play against the Miami FC. But leading up to this game, hey, what's up, Gilbert, Jorge, Mike? I want to say hi to everybody. Hopefully the audio issues have been fixed. But okay. So leading up to this game, we had a lot of high hopes. We had a lot of high expectations about this team. There was still that little issue, or there was still that little concern about how this team was going to play on the road. If it was going to be a little bit more conservative on the conservative side, or if the Toros were going to play at a similar style that they do at home. However, we need to realize that the Toros were not going to play 100% the same as they do at home. And the biggest issue is, and Ray, if you recall correctly from the time that you went to the media availability last week, Wilmer did mention that the size of the field at Southwest University Park was going to be a huge factor for this game. Am I correct?
Yep. It was one of those things where everything was going to be a little bit smaller than usual. It wasn't going to be your futsal type field, but it was definitely going to be smaller than FIFA regulation size.
And not only that, in those places, in those spots on the field where it's supposed to be, as you can say, the dirt from the baseball field where they just kind of like patch it up, it usually tends to be a little bit bouncier than normal, since the sod there isn't as settled onto the ground as in other parts of the field. So those kind of things we're going to take into effect. We're going to affect a team as possession oriented as RGV when it comes to moving the ball around on the field, and they really suffered. They really suffered. But that, I don't think that was really the difference maker this time. I mentioned it after, like during the game, but after the goal. So, okay, we go into this game with some sort of expectations, and I think I said in my bold prediction a 1-0 loss, but I never imagined. This is how bold and out there the reality actually was. I would have never imagined that this 1-0 loss would have been because Tyler Derrick was too casual to clear the ball off of the field with the pressure of Luis Solignac at the 20th second of the game.
I just got to be questioning the contract that Luis Solignac got from El Paso. Did that include like some sort of paternity suit to RGVFC or something? I mean, that guy has like an outstanding track record scoring against us, and early on too.
Yeah, last season, and I think was it the last South Texas Derby, he scored in what, like the 30th?
The first 35 seconds or something. Yeah. I'm like, oh. Like really, it's a Solignac score that was my first reaction when I just looked up and I saw a bunch of El Paso guys just celebrating in a corner. I'm like, Jeebus, that better not have been Solignac. That better not have been. And sure enough, Solignac.
So okay, so my question is, so there was a problem with the broadcast.
Audio.
There was no audio. Apparently, they thought that the PA audio was more important than the commentators and the on-field sounds. But that's neither here nor there. It's I don't blame them. Sometimes it happens. I mean, it happens to us. You saw it like just right now, where I had no audio. You know, so it happens. It took a while for them to realize what was going on, but eventually they fixed it. But my question was, did Pimentel not warn Tyler Derrick that Solignac was right behind him? Because let's give Tyler Derrick the benefit of the doubt. Okay? Solignac was coming in from his blind spot. And he didn't realize that Solignac was coming up to him until it was too late, until he was trying to kick the ball away. Ball deflects on Solignac's leg, and it goes into the net. But if it happened, like if Pimentel or somebody else in the defensive back line let Tyler Derrick know, like yelled at him or something, that Solignac was coming after him. But I think if they didn't, then it kind of like it goes without saying, like, okay, me sorprende. It's surprising that somebody with the experience that Eric Pimentel has, failed to take the initiative to warn his keeper about the opposing team member trying to take the ball away from him as he's trying to clear the ball.
It could have also been Dispet too. I mean, Dispet could have also seen him too from his other angle too. It kind of goes a little bit both ways.
True.
Or when you have a solid line of four like the way RGV has been playing all season long, it kind of goes a little bit in both avenues. A little bit here, Edson. That's just the overall thing. And Tyler Derrick is not known to have that type of errors per se. I mean, I don't recall ever that happening to him in the MLS at times. Like, sure, he could have misread a ball or something like that, but to have something like that where you have a known striker in the USL to pounce the way he did was just like, whoa, like not again type of thing with Lucho Solignac scoring that early goal.
Yeah, I mean Tyler Derrick, he's made some mistakes, but they're usually not like glaring mistakes. It's like you mentioned, like maybe they misread a ball or something like that. I know there was one. Actually, I do remember one, and I remember it because I was there. It was in Houston Dynamo versus Orlando City. This was when Kaká was with Orlando City. There's this play where they pass the ball back to him, and when he tries to clear it, he was like at the edge of his box, of the 18-yard box. He hits it straight towards the attacker. I don't remember who it was. He hits it straight to the attacker that was coming to pressure him, and the ball lands back in the back of the goal. But you're talking, I believe this was like in the second half. So it has happened. It has happened before, but I wouldn't put it as much as, oh, it's because he's not good or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think he's shown that he's a very good keeper. He's shown that he's strong mentally. Let's not forget that he had a couple of saves in this particular match. There was one in the second half where Eder Borelli was trying to cross. It bounces off of Adrian Dispes' leg, and it was which deflects it straight towards goal. Tyler Derrick had already gone out to anticipate the cross by Eder Borelli, and Tyler Derrick had the reflexes to come back and clear that ball out towards the corner. So he's got the talent, and he's got, like I said, the mental capacity of coming back from making a glaring mistake such as his. So we got to hand it to him. That he is a talented goalkeeper. I think any other goalkeeper after making a mistake like that would have probably like been down in the dumps for the rest of the season. Yeah, for the rest of the match. Excuse me, not the season. I mean, you take a look at what happened last year with Paul Blanchet. That was some of the issues that we had with him. He made a mistake, and it seemed like from then on we just completely lost him. Whereas Tyler Derrick, like I said, he's strong. He's stronger mentally, and he was still able to come back up, pick himself up, and keep on making saves whenever the team needed him. What is a shame, though, is that I think for the most part, the defensive lineup, they showed up. They showed up for this match, but our offensive lineup really did not. And we'll be talking about this right now. So, I did write, and one of the discussion points that we do want to talk about, and I told you, Ray, before we started. On Monday, I published on the Striker Texas. I published an article called three takeaways from RGV's loss to El Paso Locomotive. If you all haven't read it, be sure to go to thestrikertexas.com if you are subscribed, and be sure to give it a read. So what were the three takeaways that I had from this match? And so number one, Dispe continues to shine among the defensive line. Number two, Elvis Amo underperforming as a striker in my eyes. And number three, obviously we're talking about how they struggled with the narrow dimensions of Southwest University Park. So let's start with number one. Dispe continuing to shine among the defensive line. Okay, so we know that Arturo Dispe was not available for match number one due to carrying a suspension from last season with the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. He came in at halftime in season two, in game number 2 against San Diego Loyal. I think he made a couple of pretty crucial saves defensively when it seemed like the team was caught in a kind of like in a bad moment or in a bad position. There was one. Was it against San Diego Loyal, or was it the next one against No, I think it was San Diego Loyal, where they had left one of the strikers all alone off of a cross. I think it was in the last couple of seconds. Oh no, I think that was San Antonio. Where they cross it toward the far post. There was nobody there to guard the striker. He heads it in, and Arturo Dispe just comes at the last second and clears it off for a corner. He's had a couple of clearances like that. And this game against El Paso Locomotive really was no exception. His stats in this game, he led the team with 7 clearances, 4 interceptions, and 3 successful tackles. And then overall, the defensive back line allowed 15 shots in total, but only 2 of those attempts were on target. So, Ray, what are your thoughts so far on Dispe's performance?
I kind of felt there was like a spurts in the game against El Paso, particularly, where I kind of felt like he tried to jumpstart the offensive attack. I mean, he was one of those defenders that would go up, try to at least get the ball into continuation of play.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt like, okay, if this is a sign of what may come, then we might be in a little bit of trouble. And I say that because just remember when we had Robert Castellanos last season, where he kind of took it on his own to kind of jumpstart the offense a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you got to take that into consideration with Dispe. And That's kind of what I would not like to see again this season, especially with all of the players that we have thus far.
And we'll talk about the offensive lineup and when we talk about
Exactly.
Elvis Amo. I think so far, I think what strikes me, what surprises me, maybe not for those who probably have followed Arturo Dispe's career in the USL a little bit more, a little bit closer. But I think what strikes me, surprises me, is that so far I think that Dispe has outshined Eric Pimentel.
Yeah, I mean that's something because I think Dispe knows a little bit more of the league itself and what to like kind of expect. Um, with Pimentel, I think he's still in that uh little period of time where he's trying to get to know what uh, how how the how the USL plays to his strengths as a defender.
Hmm.
And I kind of think that like a little bit of honeymoon period for him is kind of over. Like I kind of feel like this South Texas Derby match is gonna be like his one opportunity to like really turn it up those notches that he needs to in order to be that defender that he once used uh to become one of the solid guys in that back line.
So let's go ahead and uh, discuss, or let me go ahead and go over the starting 11 for this particular match. On goal, you had Tyler Derrick. Then you had your back line of four, in which contained Carter Manley as a right back, Arturo Dispe and Eric Pimentel as your center backs. Then as a left back, you have Grant Robinson. This was different. I think this was the same lineup that they presented against San Antonio FC.
Yeah, there was no changes whatsoever.
Correct, which I don't blame him because like we say in Spanish, uh, plantilla que gana, equipo que gana, equipo que repite, right? A team that wins, a team's gonna repeat, right?
Yeah.
So you had like two, I think, more defensive-minded midfielders on paper with James Murphy and Rodrigo Lopez. You had Wank Hussein playing more of a number 10 role in this particular match. And then up on top, you've got Christian Sorto, Elvis Samo, and John Henry Sanchez as a right midfielder or right winger, depending how you want to see his particular position. So, like I said, I don't think it was a bad lineup, but the early locker room goal just really didn't help the Toros, and then that added a little bit of pressure and frustration to a team that was already going to be frustrated and pretty much struggling to adapt with a smaller field compared to what they're used to at HB Park. I think one of the things that I didn't mention, and we'll talk about it on point number 3, it was just that their passes, especially in the first half, were very off. But before we move on to the next point, the last thing that I posted about that point number 1 was that El Paso Locomotive made 15 shots, but only 2 of them were on target. Do you believe that this was more on what El Paso failed to do as strikers and getting that accuracy? Or do you think this was because of the defensive lineup's pressure on El Paso's attackers?
I kind of felt this one goes both ways, Edson. For me, I kind of felt that the defensive pressure that that RGV tried to impose on them was to just kind of limit their chances on target, and it kind of worked for long spells of the game because El Paso had the higher advantage in shots. But then when you could tell that they were going to hit the target or not, that's where you kind of saw like bodies flying all over the place for RGV in that line of defense. You kind of saw um, midfielders dropping back just to make sure that no other additional rebounds were given up or second chance opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you kind of saw like the solid defensive effort that RGV gave throughout this game.
I think one of the things that strikes me, so if you go into the USL website, you go into the chalkboard for the match center between El Paso and RGV. There is an option to look at the events for shots off target. So the stats say that they had let's see, they made 15 shots, only 2 of them are on target, 4 of them were blocked, which means that they had around, was it 9 shots that were off target. Correct.
Mhm.
6 of those shots that were off target were inside the box. 3 of them were inside the box, and 3 of them were from outside the box that were off target. I know in the second half there were some particular chances that honestly, to me, it was like, how did they make the wrong decision? I think, who was it? Was it Aiden Aporaca? No, I think it was the young 17-year-old Luna. There was one in the second half where the Toros lost the ball and they sent the through ball over to Luna, who was all alone out there on the left wing, and his shot was just way wide. Like, I feel like he kind of pressured himself into shooting instead of taking a colder decision to, you know, put himself in a better position to shoot or something like that. But I honestly agree. Depending on the circumstances, I feel there were some where they were able to close down the spaces correctly. As you can tell, with the 4 blocked shots that the Toros defensive lineup was able to block. But I do think at moments they had some mental lapses, especially when they would lose the ball in transition, which is a little bit more apparent in this game, you know, given the circumstances they were trying, you know, especially when they were down a man. So I think overall, what would you give a rating to the defense?
Rating for the defense, oh my lord. 6.8. 6.8. If I'm using the font mob scoring system, I'd go 6.8.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I would be a little bit more benevolent, mostly because I think they got the job done. Besides that particular moment or mistake by Tyler Derrick, I think they were
Mhm.
able to get the job done to limit the amount of like clear dangerous opportunities on target upon Tyler Derrick. So I'm gonna give them a 7.0. Just
Okay.
passing, just passing, because they
Yeah.
did. As you can see, that they did the bare minimum to pass. Um,
I mean, I kind of like the fact that they didn't break and allow a second goal. That's kind of like the plus here that I can give them. At least they were strong enough to not let in a second goal here, because had another goal gone in, okay, then it would have been a little bit it would be a little unfair on my end for the 6.8, but
mhm.
they did kind of hold their lines through in order to keep everything organized and as clean as possible after that first goal.
So Mike says Eric had a good stop against one of them. I think he does have a block shot on his statistic. And then Gilbert brings up a good point. He says, if not for the mistake, then maybe play would have opened up and allowed for an RGB goal. See,
Ye-
the thing is though, and I'll let you say it right now, Ray. But I think in my eyes, El Paso kept attacking, so it wasn't that they parked the bus. Uh, It was mostly the fact that RGV just couldn't get some decent creativity on out El Paso's side of the field, especially in the first half. You know, or overshooting targets and this and that. And like I said, for most of the game, El Paso had the more dangerous opportunities. So I don't think that it was that these spaces were closed down because they were parking the bus because they had a 1-0 advantage. El Paso kept on going, trying to find that second goal.
Yeah, for me, I kind of felt like every time we try to we try to attack using the flanks, I think that's where the short field came into play a lot because shorter fields tend to play with the ball differently than what they do like on a bigger field. You put El Paso, like say, at the Sun Bowl. Yes, a much bigger field, a much bigger everything, and where you have turf, maybe the game bounces a little differently. Maybe the game just bounces a little differently for for RGVFC. It does change a little bit in that magnitude, but since it was a baseball diamond, everything's a little shorter. It kind of took away from what RGVFC was trying to do, playing on the offensive end because El Paso was just playing everything to take away the outside passing lanes and trying to force RGV to play a little bit down the middle, something that they're not used to, especially when you have a striker in Elvis Amo who's usually likes to receive the ball from wing plays on the outside.
And not only that, Wank Hussein, I feel like they studied him. They studied his game against San Antonio
Hmm.
because the El Paso midfielders were not giving Wank Hussein an inch.
Nope.
You know, when they did try to go in through the middle, they like as soon as he tried to get possession of the ball, like they were hounding him, and not the San Antonio way of fouling him. No, like clean tackles, dispossessing him or forcing him to open up the ball towards the wings or trying to pass it back to his midfielders. I think El Paso did a good job, you know, closing down the spaces without technically parking the bus. Um, but let's talk.
It's
You
like they
talk.
kind of played a little bit of a high press against Cousin. Like every time, like where he tried to open himself up a cavity of space, it was like, okay, we'll put you against a midfielder. Let's move up a little bit more. Okay, we're gonna put you against a center back now. So every
Mhm.
time he tried to move into a cavity of space, it's like, okay, someone was already spying him,
Mhm.
and that's what kind of like took away that took away that those opportunities for Cousin to be effective on the offensive end, and that kind of like took away from RGV's opportunities to create offense against El Paso.
And then you go into what I talked about in point number three. Well, because let's transition to three because I think it's a more logical transition before we go into up in the offense. So, like we mentioned, the narrowness of the field really affected the Toros. In the first half, I noticed that whenever the Toros tried to cross the ball from one end of the field to the other, or try to go with the long ball over to Sorto or John Henry, more often than not, the the pass was way off target, like overshooting their target. Really, really bad. Why? Because I guess you can say mm, uh,
The
their
sodding.
reflex or no, even not even that, because it was like through the air. But I think it's just like the muscle reflex and the muscle memory of how to shoot or how to cross a ball out to the wing. You know, they're used to hitting it harder to for that ball to make it all the way towards the end, towards the touchline where the teammate is going to be. Well, you can't do that anymore in a field like El Paso's. You know, you have to use less power on that ball, and there were so many passes that were bad in this particular game, and it was because of that. They tried to cross that ball over to the other side, and it just overshot their intended target. And I think in the second half they kind of modified or adapted a little bit uh, to that particular instance, or they tried to kind of keep the ball on the ground as well. But that really was a huge factor for the RGVFC offense. Why they weren't able to get some good opportunities on goal. I think they only had one in the first half, and that was a good shot by John Henry Sanchez that was saved by Sendejas. I think it was like in the 6th or the 8th minute of the first half.
Yeah, it was one of the probably fewer clean chances that RGV got in the game.
I think it was the only one, to be honest. I think
Yeah,
it was
I mean during the second half they tried to generate something to try to see if it, I know in the second half they did try to I mean they did have a few corner kicks to their advantage, but nothing ever mustered out of them, which is hopefully doesn't become a problem down the line. I mean, I know
Mhm.
you can't score from every corner kick, but just to have try to have some creativeness in the corner kicks. Like try different kick takers and stuff like that.
I mean, it is easier said
Then
than
done.
done.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially with RGB, especially at home, where we've seen that they earn a lot of corner kicks, um, then it'll probably be a good alternative to try to find a goal through that set piece. You know, if you have so many opportunities to execute one, you need to try to figure out ways to use that to your advantage to be able to score a goal and not just to execute, you know, those kind of things. But it all takes practice. There's still a long way to go for this team to kind of gel together and that chemistry is in those kind of set piece plays. So hopefully that they will improve as the season goes by. However, there is one part of the offense that really has been underwhelming for me, personal opinion, and that has been Elvis Amo. Um, 4 games, only 3 shots, and I'm not just saying 3 shots on target. No, 3 shots in general. So you're talking to that he has an average of less than 1 shot per game. In this match against El Paso, he had no shots at all. None on target, none blocked, none off target. So he honestly had no opportunities to take a shot in this particular match. Not only that, he gets himself ejected from the game for a double yellow. I still think that first yellow could have easily been avoided. I think it was a blatant attempt to fool the referee into getting a penalty. And so, and then I think even the second yellow could have been avoided. I don't know. It like seemed like Elvis Amo came in super late on Eder Borelli to because he had already cleared the ball, and then Elvis Amo runs into him, kind of sideswipes him, and I don't think it was malicious, because if it was malicious, he would have gotten a straight red. I just feel like he should not have charged at Eder Borelli like that. But it's all a product of, I think, also the desperation of Elvis Amo and the offense. Things were not going their way in this particular match. What do you think? I know you weren't 100%. You weren't 100% in agreement with my observation about Elvis Samo.
To be honest, I kind of felt like, okay, the first yellow card he got, I think he really deserved that. The second one, I kind of felt like he got the ball first. Okay. He tried to slide for the ball at first. But I think the referee, what he went for, rather than seeing the instant impact with the ball first. I kind of felt like that's where um Ammo got himself that second yellow. It was more of the follow through.
Are you there, Ray? Hello? Looks like we're
Yeah, I'm
okay. You said something about the follow through. That's where you left off.
yeah, the referee the referee, I think where Ammo got that second yellow was more of the follow through instead of the initial contact with the ball. I kind of felt like Ammo made more contact with the ball than what he did the player. But apparently the referee saw it where, okay, I'm gonna get you
Mm,
on the follow through. But
I don't
that's what
know. I don't know because if I recall correctly, the ball had already been cleared by Eder Borelli before
I thought there
Ammo
was a
got to him.
slight deflection. Yeah, I mean, regardless, we're going to be down a striker against San Antonio, and I just feel
Hello? Looks like we lost Ray. Hopefully, it'll reconnect. All right, but
just and give a start to give. Uh, I mean, right now I'm trying to play a little bit of pick the lineup here a little bit. So you're not going to have a mo. It's either Cerritos, Azocar, or John Henry Sanchez playing up on that striker role, and probably shuffle it up a little bit on top based on the numbers that you were kind of giving away on Alva Samo and how he's a little bit disappointed you a little bit. For me, I kind of view it like, okay, if they're going to use Elvis Ammo as kind of that lone striker role, I kind of feel like there's got to be that shared responsibility on the midfielders, feeding the ball into that striker's system, because yes, Kuzin can do a lot as a number 10, but it's also how do you get your John Henry Sanchez of the world? How do you get your Rodrigo Lopez's of the world to get in there and try to carburate that offense? That yet it has a balanced scoring because you don't have that one set striker scoring all the goals right now,
mhm.
and that's kind of like the way I've seen the Wilmer system between the first and second stint so far is that you're not going to have a set striker. So whoever can get the scoring opportunities and make them, I'll be for it. As long as goals are going in, I'll be happy. Now, yes, the main responsibility of Ammo is supposed to be that striker, but for now, if the offense isn't generating through him, I mean, you got to try different alleys just to generate that offense.
And I
And
think,
like
and
you've mentioned before,
mhm. Go ahead. It looks like we lost. We looks like we lost him again. But what I was going to mention was hello. Are you there, Ray? But what I was going to mention is that, for example, I feel that Elvis Samo, you're supposed to be the striker, because I know Wilmer has mentioned that Elvis Samo is essential when it comes to the high pressure. And I give him, I give him them. I think he in that aspect. I think Elvis Amo has been good to put pressure on the defensive lineups, try to create some or to cause mistakes on the lineup when they have the possession of the ball. and kind of force him to give them away in transition and kind of catch them off guard there. Okay, I give that to Elvis Samo. But I think as a striker, your primary target is definitely to be able to create shots on the goal, to be offensive rather than defensive. But that's just me. That's just me ranting or talking about soccer, analyzing. I don't think it even gets to that. I guess you can say you can call me an armchair analyst, whatever. But that's what I feel. I feel like with Elvis Samo, like, okay, you're good defensive to create pressure, right? You hustle, you are all around the field trying to create that pressure. But I think because you do that, you lose your primary objective, which is to create opportunities offensively. And the fact that I think Ray mentioned, the fact, okay, if Elvis Samo isn't generating opportunities, well, the others have to step up. But that's the thing. Everybody else is stepping up. I think Chris Sorto himself had like 3 shots in this game against El Paso. John Henry Sanchez had a couple of decent plays as well. But Elvis Samo had 0 at all, like no shots at all in the game. And that is what I was talking about in that article. I feel like we lose as a striker, we kind of lose offensive power because of what we've seen so far from Elvis Samo in these particular matches. Now the question is going to be, as Ray mentioned as well, okay, so what's going to happen? Who's going to be the striker for us now against San Antonio FC? Are we going to be losing some sort of an advantage having Elvis Samo on there? And going up against a team that I think is comfortable exerting the high pressure, and I'm talking about San Antonio. San Antonio exerts a lot of high pressure as well, right? However, they feel uncomfortable when they're the ones that are being pressured. And so I think we lose a lot with Ammo being suspended. We lose a lot in that particular aspect. So what are the options that Wilmer has? Well, he mentioned we've had Juan Carlos Azocar. I think Alexis Cerritos can play in that position as well. Then you also have the I think he mentioned John Henry Sanchez has played a striker position as well. Vicente Sanchez played striker, but that was like coming in from the bench against San Diego Loyal. And then you also have the signing that was made, I think, the last week of where are you? Aitor Lopez, the Venezuelan. However, we don't know what his situation is, what his status is when it comes to the federation and league approval of the transfer. So that's still a huge incognito. So let's say that Aitor Lopez isn't available to play against El Paso Locomotive. San Antonio FC. Well, it looks like we're gonna have to go with either Juan Carlos Azocar, Alexis Cerritos, John Henry Sanchez, or who else did I mention? Yeah. So who do you think would be a better fit? I think it would be interesting to see. So Michael says Juan Carlos will do good for sure. Did you see his footwork? I liked his footwork. Honestly, I think he had some very good dribbles to get him away from the pressure of El Paso Locomotive. I believe he had a couple of nutmegs as well. So I think even with the fact that Juan Carlos Azocar was coming into this match after not playing for so long, I think he looked good coming in off of the bench. And I think he could be a good asset to use against San Antonio FC this coming Saturday. Ray, are you there? Well, it looks like Ray is still having some issues with Zoom. So yeah, looks like we're having issues with Zoom. Hopefully, we should be back in a little bit. I don't know what's like I said, I don't know what's going on. You can't see me now, but thank you Zoom for failing on us at this moment. But hopefully, y'all can still hear me right now. Ray, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. But anyway, we were talking about you mentioned, what were the options for that striker position. I was telling them that I think for me, the reason I kind of talk about Elvis Samoa is like, okay, yes, he's good with creating pressure on the defense when we don't have the ball. But I think as a striker, your first priority, I think, is to create opportunities on goal, which Elvis Samoa has not in these last 4 games. And the fact of the matter is, you mentioned, well, okay, if Ammo isn't stepping up, then everybody else needs to step up. Chris Sorto or John Henry Sanchez, but they have. Like in this game, if I recall correctly, Christian Sorto had three shots
Yes.
on the goal, and John Henry had a good, the one in the first half, and he had some other opportunities that he tried to create. So this is where I think, like, yeah, I think Elvis Samoa, he really hasn't fulfilled the expectations that people had for him, especially when he scored the first goal against New Mexico United. However, I do think, I don't know if you agree with me with this assessment, Ray, but I think we're going to lose in the aspect of the pressure. I think we're going to lose a lot not having Elvis Samoa on the field.
Also, the size also plays a little bit of the factor where he can easily be one of those targets off set pieces where he could actually like just create that havoc, as you say, as a striker, where you can just use his height and find him to score some headers. Because just remember, he is a 6'4" striker that can also be helpful in the aerial game, which might suffer a little bit against San Antonio now. And as we were mentioning, the options to kind of fill in that role, you got Sorto, you got John Henry Sanchez, and then we finally got back Juan Carlos Socar, which is kind of a good sign that now that there's options now to kind of like look forward to, at least for this game against San Antonio. So right now it's kind of a pick 'em in. And no, there's no way a 41-year-old Vicente Sanchez is going to start. No,
Correct.
stop that. Stop that. I did not write that, but someone did. Stop that now. Just get some help.
Ouch.
Get some help.
Put that gif of Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help. Out of all those options that you mentioned, who do you think is going to be the most likely to start as a striker position, or do you think they'll use a false 9?
I'm going to go with the false 9, and I'm going to go with the Cerritos, to be honest with you. I think he's kind of shown that that ability to kind of break down defenses. I kind of like my choice with Cerritos, but if I'm going to play with some,
Well, looks like Zoom is really wetting the bed right now at this moment. So I guess we're gonna be wrapping up the talk about this particular matchup against El Paso.
feel like
Okay, Ray,
Yeah.
go ahead and repeat that because it Zoom keeps closing
breaking-
down on me. Yeah.
man,
Hello?
and
Yeah, you're breaking up like
Oh.
really, really bad.
can you
Yeah,
hear
we're
me?
gonna. Yeah, I can hear you right now. Yeah, Gilbert, I guess we're gonna have to try something different. Although I don't know if this is an issue with Google or with Zoom, my internet, or I don't know what's going on. We haven't had these kind of issues or these blatant issues before, so I kind of want to hope that this is just something that just happened. That's just happening today. But I do want to mention. So tomorrow there's going to be media availability. I think that'll be a good question to ask Wilmer Cabrera on what kind of how he's going to adapt without Alba Samo on the pitch for Saturday's match against San Antonio FC, and how that will affect the counteracting the high pressure off of San Antonio FC. But yeah, looking forward towards this match. So we're going up against San Antonio, that are going to be playing at home this time at Toyota Field. This past Saturday, they played at Toyota Field against Birmingham Legion. They won 2-1 in this particular game. They also had an early goal going into this match. I think it was like 45 seconds. I don't remember exactly how many seconds it was when they scored, but Santiago Patiño scores before the first minute, and then they get their 2-0 in the 81st minute again with Jordan Peruzza, who was being loaned from Toronto FC, and then Birmingham Legion gets one goal back in the 94th minute by Neko Brett for a 2-1 final score. And here's the interesting part about the stats of that particular game. Birmingham Legion had 62.9% possession. They won most of their aerial duels. So San Antonio really didn't look well when it came to 50-50s out on the air. They lost most of them, like 3 out of 4, they lost them. And then you go into the attack, and I guess San Antonio had 16, surprisingly, even with that little possession, they still managed to get 16 shots, 6 of those going on target. Birmingham had 19 shots, 6 of them on target. And shooting accuracy really wasn't that great for both of them. It was 31.6 for Birmingham and 37.5 for San Antonio FC. Defensively, San Antonio was a lot more prominent. They had more success with their tackles with 72% compared to 58.8%. 21 clearances by San Antonio compared to 10 from Birmingham Legion. So I think their defensive lineup at least has looked better so far since we last met. I mean, it is one game. And then coming into that match at HEB Park, the defense honestly didn't look that great against Real Monarchs, So it's going to be tougher. It's going to be a tougher match this Saturday against San Antonio FC. They're going to be playing at home. They still have on their minds that loss at HEB Park 2 weeks ago. So they're going to want some sort of revenge. They're going to be in front of their fans. They've had some signings made since we last played against them. So I think I don't think I can say that the Toros are going to be winning over there. I mean, it could happen, but I think this is not going to be the same. This is not going to be the same San Antonio that we played against at HEB Park. Let's not forget, guys. When we played against San Antonio at HEB Park, San Antonio did not have Victor Gyro, aka PC, elemental player for San Antonio in the midfield. So it looks like Victor Gyro has come back from his injury that made him miss that South Texas Derby. He might be back. He might be in the lineup again for this Saturday's match, and that is going to be completely different. And let's not forget, we don't have Juan David Cabezas, and we don't know what's going on. That's the worst part. We don't know what's happening with Juan David Cabezas.
One of the things that also San Antonio has going for them is that they have Jordan Perusa, which is another of their signings, another guy.
I'm losing you, Ray. Hold on. Hold on, Ray. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to cut this show short because we're having technical issues and it just isn't acceptable.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead and speak again.
Okay.
Because your audio just comes and goes like. But anyway, guys, let's go real quickly. We'll go with our predictions and bold predictions. So, or regular predictions, Ray.
Oh my God, this is brutal. But I will say this: Jordan Peru 1-1 draw might be a cagey affair. Uh, there's gonna be a lot of rash tackles. Unfortunately, I don't think the referee will lose control. I think a early yellow card will be giving out in this match. That's for standard. For a standard. Hello.
Yeah.
Edson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my regular prediction. 1-1 yellow cards.
Yeah, I was actually gonna go with a 1-1 as well. I think both defenses are gonna shine this Saturday. I think they're still gonna be letting in one goal. I don't think, like I said, I don't think that the Toros are gonna win away, and that's fine. You know, that's fine. That's fine considering the circumstances. I would say that for the Toros, I think it's going to be John Henry Sanchez is going to be scoring. And I honestly feel that it's going to be a comeback win. I think it's going to be that San Antonio scores first, and then we equalize, like in the 85th, 90th minute of the game. Bold prediction.
Time for bold prediction. I think we end up stealing this one on the road, despite all the circumstances. And this game will. I mean, aside that it's going to be very cagey in the midfield, I kind of do feel like it's this one the Toros might and I think Cerritos is gonna come in and take that. And I want to send a special shout out to
Say again.
Royce, the voice from the San Antonio soccer roundtable show, who I was on Monday night. He kind of referred Cerritos as being the next type. Special hello to host who referred to as San Antonio Round Show host being the
Yeah,
next
I'm
Tyberson, and I'm like, there's a big wide age difference there, but
yeah, I'm losing you right now. My bold prediction is going to be
I think Cerritos has a little bit more goal.
3-0. It's going to be a 3-0 win at Toyota Field. But guys, this is going to be it. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties we've had today. I don't know what's going on. But hopefully we can get it fixed for next week. I appreciate all your support. Anyway, Ray, thank you for coming on to talk about the Toros, and hopefully we can actually get a win at Toyota Field this Saturday. Once again, thank you. Thank you, Icarus FC. Thank you, Roughneck Scarves. Thank you, Natural Beauty Spa, and thank you to all of our patrons for all of your support. And obviously the patrons, we got Jeff Strong, Harry Austin, Javier Ochoa, Gilbert Guajardo, Eddie de la Garza, Santos Cisneros, Johnny Reese, and of course, Michael Reyes. Thank you all for your financial support of the Down in the Valley podcast. If you guys would like to support us financially, go to patreon.com/downintheRGV and check out any of the tiers. I don't think this show is gonna go on the podcast. It's not a sadly, we're having issues like since the beginning. So, but if you do want to check out what we did, we did manage to talk today. You can check out the video archives on Facebook and on YouTube Live after the live stream ends. Like I said, I want to apologize for all of the technical difficulties we had today. But hopefully next week we will have a better show. Ray, thank you so much for hopping on. If you're there, Ray, can you hear me? If you want to say something to the fans.
Yes, I am here. I can hear you. Can you hear?
Yeah, you're coming and going.
Hear me?
Man. Yeah, it's like, and then it's
And is
kind of
the
like
show over?
No, not yet. I just wanted to see if you were able to say something to the fans, but yeah, we're still having a lot of issues with Zoom. Guys, take good care of yourselves. So you guys are driving to San Antonio this weekend. Be safe out there. There's a lot of state troopers on the way, so don't go speeding on those vans. And obviously drink plenty of water, and we'll see you all next week for another Down in the Valley podcast episode. Take care.